What's going on, everybody? It's your boy C-Zar, and we are talking about Bitcoin Cash today. Shout out to the Dragon Riders in the House of the Dragon. It is the 5th day of July, and here we are at $237 with roughly 9 hours and 32 minutes left in the day. Hit that like button, subscribe. Thank you all for being here. I hope you're all feeling good after the 250th anniversary of the United States. I don't care if you're an American or you're not. I'm sure there's people all around the world celebrating, or maybe not celebrating. If you're not celebrating, that's fine. I'm not going to hate on you. Don't hate on me for not celebrating what is literally one of the greatest accomplishments in human history. Is the 250th anniversary of the United States. $237. 9 hours, 31 minutes left in this day. Let's talk about crypto. Let's get into that phase, okay? Let's shift into the 1 hour time frame. Again, actually, before we get into the short-term stuff, I do want to say just a general summary of where my head's at with this thing. Bitcoin Cash has fallen off a cliff. I mean, it's fallen clear off a cliff. Up here, we were expecting a drop. We were expecting that inevitably we would probably come down to this $250 area. I wasn't expecting in any way that it would take 3 weeks to get there. I thought that this would be a long and fought for end of cycle kind of process, maybe by the end of the year, maybe in like a month or three from now. But man, we just sent it. We literally fell right off a cliff and went even lower than expected. In that, there's actually very low volume. Okay, so as we're dropping here, sure, a little bit of volume picked up. You zoom out, I mean, really, this was not a lot of volume. This really was not a lot of volume at all, not compared to the volume we had in the bull market with these pumps here. Not a lot of volume at all. But most of the volume, most of these larger spikes, this larger average of volume came in when we were at the lows. It came in here at the lows, not on the way down, but at the lows. Imagine that we take this all away. We're in a black screen of nothingness. Okay, I've got a coin here, and volume is doing its thing. It's rising, whatever. Coins coming up, volume's rising, coming down, whatever, rising with it. We come up, we're all the way at this euphoric peak. We went from $136 to $1,068, and we did that in the course of 2 months or 2 weeks, whatever the case may be. And you get a massive spike in volume at the top. What do you think's happening there? There's a lot of selling going on. There's a lot of exchanging of hands. Every time there's a lot of volume, somebody buys, somebody sells, right? Somebody is selling to somebody who buys. Somebody's buying from somebody that sells. There's an exchange of hands there. If there's an exchange of hands at the top, that means there's new buyers who are FOMOing in at the top, and then there's old money taking out their profits, right? That's they're letting it, they're leaving it to them. And if these emotional buyers are convicted, if they have conviction, then the price will continue to rally. But most of the time, emotional buyers have little conviction. The price starts to falter in any way, they sell. They sell, and it's like an avalanche. It just starts to snowball, and then we go down, right? And then the volume picks up as we're going down. All I'm trying to say is it's the same thing, but to the reverse effect. As we're going down, if there's no volume, but there's a ton of volume at the bottom, what do you think's happening? There's probably a large exchange of hands going on where a lot of buying is going on. I would assume every buy is a sell. Again, I've made this case before that having the volume in multiple color sets doesn't necessarily help you. Volume should just be like all one color, right? You should look at it like this. It doesn't matter if it's red or green. That doesn't mean that it's sell, because every time you sell, somebody bought it. The exchange, somebody else. Every time you buy, somebody sold it. The exchange, somebody else. Whatever the case may be. But when there's a lot of volume at the bottom, there's a lot of transactions happening, a lot of exchanging of hands, and that makes me think that there's somebody who's emotional selling and somebody who's well timed buying. That's what's happening. And I say somebody, it's probably several somebodies, but at any rate, a lot of buying happened down here. Not a lot of selling happened as we're going up. And then we're moving. I would assume that we would move up a good bit of what was given back to the downside here. I would assume that we would see a solid retracement up through the zone. Here we are at $237. We're probably going to send it above $300 from here. And that doesn't mean that it's just one straight move tomorrow. It doesn't mean that it's going to happen next week. Maybe it does. We could see some volatility on the way up. It doesn't have to be straight up like it has been, right? Bitcoin moved up over the weekend. Bitcoin Cash moved up over the weekend. Maybe it's time to consolidate a little bit. We could pull back to $200 before rallying up to $300. But Bitcoin Cash, it is completely capable of seeing some fast movements. I mean, here we moved up $185 in one day at a higher price, at a higher market cap than what we have now. It can happen fast, guys. It can happen very fast. What a phenomenal time. What a phenomenal opportunity to buy Bitcoin Cash. Not only do I think it's going to go to $300, but in time, as the next cycle really starts to develop, we will see thousands of dollars in price, tens of thousands of dollars in price, maybe. I mean, I actually do expect that we'll see 20K within the next 4 years, but that's a discussion for another time. I want to keep this more short-term minded in this video. $237 now, a little bit of a wick to the upside. You're rising, and as you're rising, volume's dying off. So it makes sense that we'd see some downward volatility. Let's see if the 1 hour time frame agrees with this. And I'm going to actually lower, I'm going to dim this because it's a little bit too bright for my liking. Yeah, there we go. That's a little bit better. And maybe we can make it a different color so that the lines stand out. Yeah, the histogram, the little wispy white line dashes here, that's the average. So if you see the volume, above this level, that means it's above average volume. If it's below this level, then it's below average volume, right? That's what that means. That's helpful in determining if a move is worth considering as real or fake. Let me see here. People are asking about TBB. Yeah, man, I think it's going to keep going. I do think it's going to keep going. I was actually looking at some of the people who bought here. There are people who bought the top that have been buying all the way up, and they bought like around here. They caused this pump. There's some. I don't want to say too much because I'm not trying to give people away, but there's been some buying consistently going on for like the past week in this thing, and it keeps happening. But I'm not here to talk about TBB. I got distracted because of a Discord notice. Bitcoin Cash. Bitcoin Cash. The Bitcoin Cash community probably doesn't appreciate meme coins anyways, right? Most of you guys are locked in. You just want to buy and hold BCH, and I respect that conviction, right? I'm the same way, but I also am a little bit of a degenerate, and I like to branch out in my degeneracy. $237 RSI, a little bit of bearish divergence coming down like this. I mean, maybe you get one stray pump, something like this, to come up, but I'd still think that you come back down. How low do you go? That's the question. Let's try to answer that. Stochastics are turning a little bit bearish. The MACD is bullish overall, but you can come down. You could come down all the way down here and still be bullish. You know what I mean? It doesn't mean that you have to move up right now to maintain that bullishness. You're weakening. Your volume's dying off as you're moving higher. It just makes sense that you might come down. We'll see if you bounce here, but 1 hour, 24 minutes left. It doesn't look like you want to bounce here. It looks like you want to come out of the oversold zone. Bearish. Stochastics, same thing, bearish. The MACD has a little bit of bearish divergence building, and you're pretty hot on the MACD. It's not that it's bearish. It's actually a very bullish thing, but temporarily, let's see some recovery probably to the downside. Low to high. We like to go down to 226 to 216, somewhere in here. Could we go down to $200? Sure, $202, $197. That is our golden ratio area right there. The 236, which is at 226, the 382, which is at 216. I like this area a lot. I could see us finding support here. It's very common when working your way down to the 382 to actually wick a little bit below there. So if we go a little bit below 216, that doesn't mean that we're condemned to prices that are at 200 or below 200. But the golden ratio, again, is at 201 to 197. It's right there. So we could go all the way back down here, and still all this talk of $300 or more is very much a strong possibility. In other words, what I'm trying to say is if you bought here and you haven't taken profits yet, maybe this is an opportunity to load up the truck some more. If you bought here and you're in the red, maybe this is an opportunity to DCA, bring that dollar cost average down. But whatever the case may be, if we drop from here, and when we drop from here a little bit, right, we're going to be volatile, I wouldn't say that it's a good time to sell. We are in buy time only. This is just as smart of a buying area as this is. They're equal. It's just as smart. Yes, this is a better opportunity. Don't get me wrong. It feels better. But as time goes on, if you're thinking in the long term, you're thinking years away from now, whether you bought at $200, $237, whenever this thing's worth $10,000, $20,000 more than that, it doesn't matter, right? It really matters a little bit, sure. And if you want to get technical, there are some significant percentage differences, to be completely fair, but it really doesn't matter in the sense of you're smart no matter what. This is a good area to buy. It's not a good area to sell. Absolutely not. It's not a good area to sell. Daily time frame here, looking at the daily RSI getting overbought, or getting to the overbought zone. This is a perfect area to reject. We rejected it before. We haven't been overbought, guys. since July of 2025. Here it is, a whole year later. We haven't been overbought in a long time. We got deep in the oversold zone. We might find resistance right here. I mean, it's really perfect. Stochastics are pretty hot. The MACD is coming up to the zero. If we dilly-dally in the price, like prices like this right now, if we just dilly-dally in the price and then we dump, the MACD will catch up to this zero. It'll be a perfect area to reject from. It doesn't have to get to the zero to reject. It can reject below the zero. We've seen that happen before. But yeah, we're definitely at a point of resistance, more or less. And Bitcoin Cash, the way that it likes to move up, typically it doesn't move up like this. Typically it is a little bit more volatile. It's a little bit more volatile, a little bit more worked for, a little bit more tradable. We've been moving up pretty straight. I think that we will see some volatility as we continue higher. But the ultimate projection, I do suspect that we will see some form of a retracement from this high to low here. I feel pretty comfortable in calling this a low, just with this reaction that we've had this week. We're up 24%. It's a nice candle. 9 hours left. We'll probably close here or higher, or maybe a little bit lower. $300 is the 382. I love the 382 level. Bitcoin Cash loves the 382. It loves the 0.5. It loves this area. So 351, 300, somewhere in there. That also interacts with this kind of prior area of support and resistance going back here. So I like this area for a form of resistance here. We'll probably come back down. You'll form a higher low, a double bottom, a lower low, whatever. Will probably accumulate, and then as time goes on, then we'll start to rally and move higher going into 2027, later 2027 or 2028 even. It could be some time. It might be some time, you guys. This is, again, I'm talking about long-term stuff here. If you're buying for the long term, don't think that we're going to be at $700 this time next year. Maybe we will be, but it very well could be 2 years from now that we're up above $700. And when this thing gets moving, things can happen very quickly, man. Things can happen very, very quickly. I mean, from August 2017, we were at this exact same price. 1, 2, 3, 4 months later, we were at the all-time highs. This is nothing but accumulation. When I say things can move quickly, we can see a move that's even more robust than this move here. Absolutely we can. Because the people who are left, the people who've been buying, they're not selling. They're not selling when we're at new all-time highs. They're not selling whenever we break out. There's some short-term minded people that will sell. It looks like a straight line, but there was some volatility throughout those months. It's not that it's just going to be a straight line up day after day, but we'll look back at it whenever this grand move happens that does take us to new relative highs here, new all-time highs overall. We'll look back at it and be like, oh my God. It was so obvious that this is accumulation. It really is obvious that this is accumulation. And time will tell. We'll see if that's proven right or wrong. But I think that, I wouldn't be saying that if I thought that that was wrong. So anyways, $237 now. Monthly RSI bouncing off the oversold zone. That's a nice look. That's actually a really nice look. Stochastics may be ready to cross up. That's decent. MACD's ready to bounce off the zero. There's some bullish things on the monthly time frame. Again, I've theorized that Bitcoin still goes lower, still has lower to go in its bear market, but Bitcoin Cash very well could be at its low point here. That might be the low of 2026. It doesn't go lower. Time will tell. Even if it does go lower, it's not a big deal. Hit that like button, subscribe. Thank you all. Take care. Bye-bye.